What up, sir? Mr. Dice Raw.
What's up? Open mic.
Yo, what up with you, man?
Oh man, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's good to see you. Sit here and talk to you. Thanks for having me.
Of course, man. I'm excited to do so. I've been a fan of yours many years, man. One funny thing I wanted to bring up, man. I don't know. I'm sure you don't remember our very first internet interaction, and it's not embarrassing at all. It's not like that kind of thing. I'm just very sure you don't remember it, and I'm gonna ask you about it.
Okay.
Back in the MySpace days,
Ha ha ha.
one day, I log into my MySpace as I used to check it faithfully for any sign of life in my budding music career.
Right.
I log in and I have a notification. I have a message on my bulletin board or my page. They had the little spot where people could leave a note,
Right.
and I had one from Dice Raw,
Oh shit.
and it says something like the real shit is coming back or something like that. Something kind of lightweight positive like that.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
The real shit.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh snap, that's tight. That's raw. I left a message on my thing. And I think I must have sent you a message or a friend request or something. And then never saw nothing back. And I'm like, dang, I wonder what that was about. And then I went to your page and I looked on your outward facing. I don't remember what they used to call that part. But it looked like a bunch of people. Like I don't know if it was some bot you was using or something, but it seemed like he was just automatically leaving these little encouraging messages on people's pages.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah,
hilarious.
man, it was really funny, man. I thought I had a friend, man, and it wasn't so.
It is so. You know what I'm saying? Now we finally got a chance to link.
Years later, it is so, but I don't know. I thought that was funny. I reflect back on stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? As I get older and have like real life interactions with people, I'm like, dang, I remember this one time. I thought me and Dice was gonna be cool many years prior.
Oh, that's funny. I'll tell you what's funny about MySpace is one of my homies, he only listens to this recording he has from MySpace. And it's like one song I've had on my MySpace page. He's like, yo, that's my shit. I'm like, what about everything else I put out? He's like, yeah, man, no, that's my shit. I'm like, from my MySpace page? I'm like, I don't even know what song it is. People like, yo, that joint that was on your MySpace page, that shit was fire. I'm like, thanks, man.
That's hilarious, man, because that's something I'm gonna get to with you in questions, because just having the kind of long career you've had, I bet, man, there's many people who have grabbed on to like one thing.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And like that's how they see you. That's what they mess with you for, and they don't really want nothing else.
That's very true.
I'm sure it's been like that, but we'll get to that too. I wanted to start at the beginning with you. And I remember from a conversation we had that you didn't grow up in Philly, which was surprising to me because I first heard you so young on the early root stuff. So I was surprised to hear that you were all over the place even before that. As much as you'd want to share with people, I'm interested in like what was your early life story?
Oh, well, early life is, I actually am from Philly, but I did spend a lot of my early time like in San Antonio. From like second to third grade, I was in San Antonio, but I was born in Philly. I spent some time on the West Coast too. When I was like 14, from like 14 to like 16, I lived in Van Nuys, which is funny. But yeah, for the most part, it is Philly for the most part.
So how was it you first end up linking with the Roots? Because you were mad young when that happened.
Yeah, so I lived in Van Nuys, and I would be working in the studios in L.A. And I was writing songs for this group called Playtime, which was signed to like Belle Biv DeVoe. Or actually, it was only they was signed to Ronnie and Ricky. Actually, Biv had Biv 10, which was like very successful, and he had ABC and Boys to Men, and then Ronnie and Ricky started something called Mental Productions, where they was like basically saying that they was crazy, they was mentally insane or crazy beats, and I think they was kind of right with the crazy part. You know what I'm saying? Because they really was just trying to do exactly what Biv was doing by ABC. And then they had a group called Playtime, which was just like,
A bunch of other kids.
yeah, a bunch of kids who used to wear they pants on their head and shit like that. It was like, like what's our gimmick? You know what I'm saying? It was wearing their shoes on their hands and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, that stupid shit that people used to do. But I was like trying to write rhymes for them back in the day.
So wait, how old are you then?
Oh, I'm 14.
14. I don't want to interrupt the flow of the story, but if you writing rhymes for, musicians with a record deal at 14, then like where is your start with rhyming? Like how early do you start and like how do you get that good that fast?
You know what's so crazy? I had been rapping for a long time. Like I had really started like rapping, like seriously, like when I was maybe like 8, 9.
Wow.
Yeah, like 8, 9. Because everybody in my neighborhood did something. It was like you either break danced or you wrote graffiti. You was like a DJ. I mean, we had like 10-year-old DJs on our block. And, I mean, all kind of crazy stuff. We had a real musical neighborhood, you know.
When I interviewed Prince Paul for the first season of What Had Happened was, he told me that too. Like he was out on the block DJing at 10, which is like mind blowing to me. But I guess that's what it was like on the East Coast. Because when I was 10, that it wasn't safe. It wasn't even about safety. What it was it wasn't a park jam culture like that. It wasn't that kind of culture.
And Philly was just kind of like doing its own thing, but still kind of influenced by New York and what was going on because we were so close.
So you start rhyming 8, 9, like you writing songs and all that then? Like are you out in the park rapping like
Now, you know what? It was so wild because I never even knew people would write their rhymes down. So it was just like a freestyle type of thing. To the first day I went to the studio and somebody was like, yo, turn the mic on. They started with press record. I started rapping. They was like, all right, that was great. They was like, do it one more time. I was like, all right. So I started rapping. It's a whole different rap. They was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. They was like, what was the joint you was just kicking a few minutes ago? I was like, oh, I don't know. I was like, I was just kind of just flowing. And they was like, you was making that?
and you're how old are you then? How old are you this first time in the studio?
I'm 13 when the first time I get to the studio. And I'm with my man Kilo. Shout out Kilo. He stole me $1,400 though. I mean, he's rich. That's the part that really just fucks me, but bothers me. And like this he's a millionaire. He owes me $1,400. He just refuses to pay me. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I love him. He came to my mother's funeral though, so you know.
That's worth something, but it's still not $1,400.
I asked him. I said, "Did you bring my money?" You know what I'm saying? And he said, "Oh, Dice, you're an asshole." I said, "Well, I just thought I'd ask." You know what I mean? Well, anyway. But shout out Kilo, who discovered me, and that's the thing with black people. Like, when somebody discover you, no matter what, like you owe them forever. You know what I'm saying? It's just like you can never get out of it.
They brought you in this world, and they'll take you out. That whole routine.
But yeah, so I'm in the studio, and this is when I realized that people wrote their raps down. And I was like, oh, shit, that makes sense because people's raps was so much better than mine. I'm like, well, damn, like, how cool G Rap coming up with this shit off the top of his head? And I'm like, oh, damn, they writing it down. Makes sense.
I don't know if you ever heard this because I don't know. Do you know the Freestyle Fellowship cast at all? AC Alone, Mike and Nine?
I never met them, but I know AC Alone very well. You know what I'm saying? Like, just his work, his body of work.
Word. That's part of their story, too, is that early 80s, they're hearing music coming out of New York. They're hearing rap from there, and they're assuming everybody's freestyle. They thought they had to be as good as what the music that they was hearing on the radio and on tapes was. So that's how they all got really good at freestyling because it was kind of the same thing. They didn't know people was writing their rhymes down at first. So how do you end up linking up with Ronnie and Ricky?
Oh, it was a local talent show where they had like a producer. His name, actually Kilo. He was in the audience, and like Boys II Men was in the audience at this talent show, and I won the talent show, like the whole overall freestyle, and I won. And it was crazy because it was like comedians, dancers, all kind of like talented people that was in it. But with no material prepared, I destroyed them all, and I won. And that's how I got it connected to Ricky and Ronnie.
Wow. And so they bring you in the studio. And it's funny, too, because now that I think about it in the whole New Edition thing, they got brought into the business in a very shady way. So I'm wondering how up and up was they were with you.
Shady.
Bringing you into the biz.
Shady. But no, they was cool. They was cool. It was, the mom is what messed up Playtime's record deal. But I'll never forget, like, when I would see them coming in the studio, like, walking on their hands because their shoes was on their hands, you know what I'm saying? They was wearing their hats. They was wearing hats on their feet, you know what I mean? They had them walking upside down. That was their gimmick, Nah, their mom messed their deal up. But I remember writing rhymes, and I would see them with, like, taking pictures with, like, Ice-T and all these other rappers, and I'm like, well, damn, like, I want to be in Playtime. And the engineer at the time was like, yo, you're not that kind of rapper. And I was like, well, what kind of rapper am I? Because I'm a kid, basically. I don't know, the difference between what I am and what they are is wildly different, He was just kept telling me, he's like, yo, man, you're just not that kind of rapper. Trust me, you'll be okay. And I was like, whatever. I was like, they got a picture with Snoop. He was like, yo, You'll be okay. And I just kept complaining. I just kept complaining to him all the time.
What did he mean by that? Like, what kind of rappers were they?
They were, I guess, rappers who had ghostwriters, who were commercial, who were gimmicky, and he was basically saying I was not that. But he didn't know what I was either. But or maybe he did, but he didn't specify. But he was just like, yo, you're not that kind of rapper. Like, let them do their just keep writing the raps for them. And I was just like, this is boring.
Yeah, you want the fame and the pictures with Snoop and all that, man. You're not gonna get that.
Yeah, I want to wear my fucking shoes on my hands.
So going, from that, and then you end up back in Philly, kind of soon after that, because it's not too much later than when I first heard you. I feel like, right?
I remember hearing a Roots demo when I was in LA, and the Roots put out a demo, and I was just like, damn, this shit's hot. And then never really got a chance to meet him. Then I heard that they got $1 million record deal. I was like, holy shit, somebody from Philly got $1 million record deal? And I was like, I didn't even know they even had them. You know what I mean? So that was like a big thing. So the Roots had like a record release party. I went down to the record release party, and then somehow they knew Kilo. So at the day after the record release party, they asked me to come to the hotel. They had like a whole studio set up in the hotel room. So we was vibing, just busting it up, smoking weed, and
And how old are you then?
right now I'm about 16.
Okay. So they breaking all kind of laws. I don't even know if they know that they're doing it.
Oh, yeah. But he's only 4 years older than I am. You know what I mean? So
Okay, right. So y'all kicking it like youngsters.
yeah, he's 20. I'm 16, but he's still like an OG to me. You know what I'm saying? At least at that time. And then I just went to the hotel and I just stayed. Like I never went home. You know what I mean? And then I went home, and then I started just coming back and going back and forth because we wound up getting kicked out of the hotel, and then had to go to the studio down the street. So
Damn. Okay, so how long after meeting him do y'all record what ends up becoming the lesson off of Do You Want More?
I would say I knew them for about a year and a half, maybe. I just kind of going to the studio, just hanging out every day. And then then I remember I just got a phone call before I went to school, and they was like, yo, we want you to come to the studio when you get out of school later. And I was like, all right, cool. So I just came down there, and they had like the beat set up. And I remember I wrote a rap all day in school. I was writing. I was like, I'm going to write this joint. So I was writing it. I wrote it. I practiced all day in school. Then I left school. I went straight to the studio. And the rap was whack. I balled it up, threw it in the trash. And then I freestyled what's on the record. And then Quest kept stopping it, too. Like, he's like, yo, give me a shout out. He was like, yo. Do the other part again. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? You know what I'm saying?
So you going off the head, and he's stopping the session, and you got to pick it back up?
Yeah. I mean, he only stopped it like twice. You know what I'm saying? But he definitely stopped it. And I had to but it didn't even matter. They just let me keep going. They just was like, yeah, fuck it. Just let And I don't even know what they erased, because it's when I shout Quest out in that joint, whatever was before that is not even a line. So I don't even remember what was already on. So it was just, we was kids.
So that was all off the head. That was a question I have for you.
Oh yeah, off the top.
I'm a freestyler too, man. So I always give it up when I hear solid freestyle, man. Like,
right.
Did y'all make a bunch more music at that time? You was kicking it with them. You said a year and a half. Did y'all make a bunch of stuff before that, or was that really like the first time y'all did a song together?
Yeah, that was the first time we did a song together. But we would kind of like freestyle like all the time. You know what I mean? Just get high and just be busting rap. You kick something, I kick something. You kick something, I kick, like that kind of stuff.
Because Black Thought's crazy off the head too, right? Like,
oh, this shit's ridiculous.
I remember that joint off of From the Ground Up Worldwide, where he just goes off, and Quest raps on that song too. But Black Thought gets on, you can tell it's kind of freestyle, and he just like takes off. So you said you was in school at this time. Did you have like a plan? Did you have like a life planned out? Like you was gonna do this, and that? Or was it always going to be music one way or another?
I had no plans. And, it's so wild. Like, my mom, she was just, like, so, like, it's weird because everybody be like, yo, your mom was the truth, man. She always supported your dreams, and your mom thought you was a star, or your mom did this. And really what it was is my mom got my report card and, I guess, an aptitude test or some shit they did on me back in the day. And she was just like, yo. Hold up, something ain't right here. So she, so I think it was more or less like her just like trying to just making sure I wouldn't end up homeless or in jail or something like that. Because, they said I was gifted when I was in kindergarten. It was like, they texted me like, yo, he's mentally gifted. He needs to go to this school over here. It was an all-white school. It was far as fuck. I spent 2 years there. They sent me right back to the hood and said, this nigga's not mentally gifted. He's mentally retarded. It's like, who the hell gave him that test? You know what I mean? But the test that they gave me after that, I think it really worried my mom. You know what I mean? Like, she even filled out like job applications for me and shit like that, and would send them into like sandwich shops, like Bon Pain, and I'd go to the interviews, and the motherfuckers would just be looking at me like they didn't believe a word I was saying. And I'd be in there like, I remember I went to this one sandwich shop, and he was like, so tell me, why do you think you be a good fit here at Bon Pain? And I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, well, first of all, you guys make great sandwiches. I love sandwiches. I was like, my favorite sandwich is corned beef. I was like, but I can make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich pretty well. I never had chicken salad, but I'd be willing to try. I'd be willing to try turkey on rye, different breads. And he just looked at me the whole time like, yo, you're full of shit. And at the end of the interview, he said, I just don't think you're on Bon Pain material.
Wow.
But he was right. I'm not fit to make sandwiches. He was correct.
That's another display of your off the head skills, though, man. You just rattling off sandwiches.
Right. I started hitting them with it. I was like, look, man, I've never heard of sourdough, but I'm willing to work with it. We've got Wonder Bread at my house. Wonder Bread.
So you like with the Roots, you get on the lesson, which was, in my world, that was a real big deal. Like, that's probably around the time for me personally, I really, really started digging deep into like, what was considered underground music, backpacker music before it had that term at the time.
Before we had an identity as black men.
Exactly. When it was just like, this is the good rap.
Yeah.
That's all I thought it was.
It's just black men who just weren't selling crack 24/7. They didn't have a name for us then.
Right. These guys have nice beards and cool jackets. Sometimes they wear ski goggles. You know what I'm saying? Like that was my type of music. You know what I'm saying? Before the labels. So you link with them. You're on that song, and so that's "Do You Want More," which is like prime era Roots with the band, and you hear the band in every song, or it's like Rozelle beatboxing. It's all very organic, analog sounding. So the next album is Illadelph Half-Life. And it starts to become more of like a sample-based kind of sound, like kind of more towards what else is happening in the scene at time, except you still got musicians involved everywhere, but the beats sound more like traditional beats. Did you have a thought about that at the time? Like as the sound was changing, was that something that you had a thought about or a feeling about either way?
No, not really. It was just like whatever was going on, we were just going to make it happen. And I think we was really influenced by like Wu-Tang and like, Buckshot Shorty and Nas and all that stuff that was going on. It did get a little bit more rough, like the beat-wise, song-wise, like what we was talking about got a little bit more street, you know what I mean? So.
And the first single for that is, of course, Clones.
Oh, right, shit.
So once you get into this era, for me personally, this is where I'm so on it. When the singles drop, I'm aware and I'm anticipating albums. Like this, it's that sort of time for me. So like this song hits. I'm already as big of a Roots fan as you can be owning the one album I own. But the song was very exciting, man. I remember this coming on like the little college radio show I used to listen to at the time. I had that on the tape. I used to run that thing back over and over again. Me and the homies used to try to figure out how to play that piano part on the piano at our high school, because it's like it sounds like it's the same note, but then it like the tuning changes while he's hitting the same. Like, how does he do it? It was crazy for it. But how did it feel like for you? Like, what was your experience like being on a single for a group that had that much buzz in a big record deal at the time?
You know what? I was so stupid. Like, it didn't make no sense. Like, they would always be like, yo, don't you know that you're like a rapper? Like, why don't you act like you're a rapper? I'm like, what are you talking about? They were like, yo, you're not just like a regular person. You just can't go buy weed at the weed place. And I was just like, why not? You know what I mean? So, I mean, to me, it really wasn't a big deal. And you know what's so funny? I didn't like Clone's beat. Like, when I first heard it, it was my beat. And I was like, man, I don't like this joint. And Quest was like, yo, can I have this beat? And I was like, yeah, I don't care.
When you say it's your beat, what does that mean?
Like, the producer made it for me. Like, it was my session because I was working on my project. And I was like, I don't really like this beat. And they was like, you crazy. You don't like this beat? I'm like, it's all right. It wasn't really blowing me away. You know what I mean? So So I gave it to him.
Did it sound pretty similar to how it sounds now, like the drum rolls and all that?
Yeah, it was the whole song, Clones, everything, like the whole thing. It was called Clones. It was my song. It was Clones. You know what I mean? Like, that's the only reason why Mars is on it, because they ain't even like Mars like that. They ain't even fuck with Mars. Okay. He was like the guy that came through that used to get on everybody's nerves and shit. But he was my homie. You know what I mean? So that's the only reason why he got on that song, because it was already done.
So that's your song. What project was you working on at the time?
Nothing. And you know what's so funny? I'll never forget this. Like, Patrick Mossy, my main man, like, you know, it's like I was such a crazy, like, not understanding the record business, not understanding how the whole shit worked, like, at all. And this guy wanted to give me, like, the guy, he had Guru on his label. He had J. Rue the Damage on his label. What was their label called? I forget. But you know what I'm talking about. It was like Chrysalis. It was like Chrysalis or something else they was on. Not Duck Down. That was Drew Hyde and them. But whatever label they was on, dude, the president came down and wanted to sign me to their label. And he was like, yo, we don't even got to do a whole album. He's like, I'll give you $50,000 for a single deal. Now, mind you, I'm 18 years old. I'm like, a single deal? I'm like, man. And I already got I already kind of got like $1 million deal on the table. I'm like, and I'm not even taking that. I was like, why would I take this $50,000 for one song? But now I'm like, what the hell was I thinking? It was like, yo, somebody, and look, and people was like, yo, that nigga crazy. Like, yo, he really don't care. You know what I'm saying? I just didn't understand what $50,000 even was. Like, I didn't understand. Like, I didn't get it.
So you are fully embedded at the Roots at this time. And, you know, you own singles, you're in the group, and eventually you do end up signing a solo deal with MCA.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty big label. So, I mean, at the time when you signed that deal, was it starting to click for you? Did people explain it to you, or is it still kind of just like, fuck it and just keep pushing through?
You know, kind of, but, you know, at this point, it's like, you know, I was telling Black Thought about this too, like maybe like a couple months ago. It's so funny, like, how I just was so used to it that it didn't mean it didn't really matter. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was like, okay, I'm put out a record. Everybody I know got a record out. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, all my friends got record deals. Like, it's okay, I got a record deal. Big deal. Like, it just didn't click. Like, I'm just a weirdo, Mike. I mean, but when I saw the money, this time I saw the actual money, I was like, oh, wait a minute, this is different. And I was like, oh, wait, I kind of dig this. You know what I'm saying? They was like sending limousines for me. And I was like, what the hell? Because like we went through that whole underground phase where it was like no money. And then it was like all this money at some point. And we was like, damn. It's like, you know, I got a chance to experience that early 2000 kind of music industry nonsense that was kind of going on a little bit. So, I mean, it kind of clicked a little bit, but not really. You know, I recorded the album. The album was whack.
That's your opinion? That's your takeaway now?
Yeah, the Reclaiming the Dead. The Reclaiming the Dead was whack. I mean, it was whack then, but I didn't, you know, I put the record together and I was already done. And then it was like, yo, you didn't spend enough money. That's what the record come. The record come was like, yo, you didn't spend enough money. Like, I spent $20,000. Because the way they broke it down to me is like, look, there's like, yo, if you spend whatever you don't spend, you get to put in your pocket.
Right. So that means you're going to spend as little as possible, right?
That was my philosophy. I was like, yo, I spent 20 G's. Album done. And you know what? That shit was raw. That shit was hot. You know what I'm saying? And then they was like, yo, you ain't spent enough. So then I went back and then spent like another $280,000. Just kept going and doing shit, string arrangements, this, all kinds of just nut shit every day doing. I was like, I'll never do that shit again. And I never got $1 million record budget again. But, you know, I should have just took the $20,000 and spent that and just, because it didn't even matter. At the end of the day, the shit didn't sell no matter what. Whether I could have spent $10 on it.
And they didn't really push it either, right?
No, they didn't push it. They was like, man, fuck this shit. They was like, we spent. Actually, you know what? They did try to push it, but you know, again, I was a kid, and basically the Roots and they wasn't even thinking about my record at this time. They was like, yo, man, let them do whatever the hell they want to do. We got our own shit going on, right? So I'm basically running the whole shit. So I had the recording budget and the marketing budget, like full control over it, like full control. So it was like, yo, what do you want to do? I don't know. I want to make a cartoon. They're like, for your video? I was like, I love cartoons. God damn it! It was like he likes cartoons. Like, fucking let him go. I mean, He is a kid. They're like, well, he is a kid. Let him fucking do this shit. So
Does that inform why you put out your records on your own now? I know a lot of your joints come out on Raw Life Records, which I assume is your biz.
right.
Did you want to get another deal, or did you just decide that like it's better, it's easier for you to move on your own?
Man, it gets stupider. It gets stupider and stupider, Mike. So after my album didn't come out, and like I just spent like basically like $1 million, right? So now I'm just like, I'm not really with majors. I'm sour on the whole thing, right?
Right.
This guy came in, offered me $300,000 to do another indie project. I could get the $300,000 all cash up front. I told this dude no. I was like, nah, I'm good.
Why did you tell him no?
Cause I'm an idiot. I don't know why the fuck I told this guy no. And like, but they respected me so much. They're like, yo, man, this guy, he just doesn't give a fuck. Like, and I just didn't understand that I could have had that $300,000 and just put it in my pocket and did whatever the fuck I want with it. But again, hindsight's 2020.
This would be an assumption, but it don't sound like you had like a solid manager or something.
No, I
like.
did, but he was crazy as I was.
Oh well, that ain't good.
Yeah, he was crazier than I was. He was just super smart. Look, if Rich told me not to do something, I just didn't do it.
Oh, Roots Rich.
Yeah, we had the same manager, but at the same time, Rich was managing me. He was micromanaging me as a part of just like the Roots Collective. It's like he was my day-to-day manager, but really he was just managing the Roots. But I was just like this side piece of the Roots that he just was like, okay, I have to manage this thing or it'll get out of control too. So, Rich had me as a system with control.
So, you've been up to mad projects, in the last few years. One of them I definitely wanted to talk to you about, even though I haven't gotten a chance to experience it. The Last Jimmy is a musical you put together, and I know it's about like incarceration, among other things. And as much as you can explain it for people who haven't heard it, like myself, I'd love to hear you talk about it.
Well, Last Jimmy is a musical that was inspired by Jimmy's Back, which is the album. And, Jimmy's Back was inspired by Michelle Alexander's book, The New Jim Crow. And the Jimmy's Back album inspired the musical, which actually inspired my whole career in theater. Yeah, so it's about mass incarceration. It's about the unfair judicial system. It's about police brutality. It's about the disconnect between black fathers and sons. It's a lot, man. It's a heavy piece. It's a real heavy piece. It has its faith-based elements in it as well.
What has your journey in theater been like? Like, what made you get into it?
Actually, it's so crazy. Like, Apple saw that I was putting Jimmy's Back out and was like, yo, come to New York, perform in front of the store or at the store. So I had some brothers in orange jumpsuits kind of line up in front of the store. And then I had them walk in the store. And then basically I had like one of my white friends, his name's Christos. I had him play a lawyer who was basically just like a public defender, just case after case after case. And they were like, yo, what the fuck is going on in here? They were like, yo, it almost feels like a theatrical. And that's when I was like, oh, shit, maybe I can go in that direction. Like, why not? And then one of my boys used to be a writer at Disney. Shout out Phil Brown. And he was like, yo, I'll write your script. He's like, yo, this animal shit sounds like an opera to me. So that's where he just kind of started basing it off of the whole thing was Animal, the song Animal. And then we took that, did the play. And then bitch-ass Kendrick Lamar stole my shit. Because let's just get right to it, Mike. Let's get right to it. Let's get right to it.
I remember.
Nah, I'm just joking.
I remember this on social media now.
Yeah, I don't think Kendrick Lamar is a bitch-ass nigga. I think he's a genius. You know what I'm saying?
But, great geniuses often, borrow concepts and refine them.
I think somebody gave him some bad advice and he just ran with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, somebody was like, yo, man, you should do this thing. It should be like a musical. It should be like a hip-hop, da-da-da-da. And they never told her that they got it from me. You know what I'm saying? But, one of his peoples called me and was like, yo, Dice, man, he's so heartbroken. He can't get out of bed. He don't know. Like, I was like, all right, so what? He's like, yo, man, when you say something online, like, I was like, say something like what? They was like, like an apology. I was like, apologize for what? I'm like, yo, if he called me and say, yo, I didn't steal your show, then I'll forgive him. Like, what reason would I have not to believe him as just taking a man at his word? Now, if he don't call me, how can I apologize to a man I never spoke to?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So that's the first things first. The second thing second is the reason why I didn't trip on him, or people like, oh, Dice, you took the high road on that. I was like, yo, it's not even about that. It's about mass incarceration. It's not one man's fight anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't win this shit by myself. So if somebody like Kendrick wanted to shed light on a problem like mass incarceration or what's going on with people in the unfair treatment of blacks and cops, then I welcome anybody to that fight. You know what I'm saying? Like, please, more the merrier. You know what I'm saying? Just don't be stealing my shit.
It'd be different if you had a show called The Dice Raw Story and he did that. Like, that'd be a different conversation. But since it was ultimately about shining light on a cause that only needs more and more attention.
He did it brilliantly. I'll never forget. Like, I'm so crazy, Mike. Like, I'm watching this shit. I'm hype. I'm like, yo, this nigga killing that shit. I'm like, yo, at the fucking Grammy, shut that shit down. And then motherfuckers come like, yo, man, that's your shit. I'm like, wait, it is? I'm like, nah. They're like, yo, man. Like the people from the theater in L.A. was like, yo, man, we know who we invited here. The motherfuckers from the Narrative Association, they was here. They stole the fucking shit and told Kendrick Lamar to do it.
Wow. So it's like easy connections to draw on everything. It's not like it's just like...
I mean, kind of. Because here's the other thing. Like, Phil, the guy who wrote the script, my guy from Disney, he made the jail cells gold in the script for a reason. And it's because the gold chains and gold handcuffs, and I mean, well, the gold chains is like an imprisonment of the mind. So he made the bars like an extension of gold jewelry. So that's why the jail cells were gold in The Last Jimmy. Now, why is Kendrick Lamar's jail cells gold?
He got to call you and tell you.
Well, he never called me.
Exactly.
Well, they told me he's a blood. But guess what? I'm with the Crips.
Oh, man. The saga continues, damn it.
This is actually a navy blue jacket.
Well, there it is. There it is. We're going to color correct the video footage after the fact. We're going to have you whatever the opposite of flamed up is. We'll put that in post.
The Crips actually they turned down my membership offer. I sent in a letter to join. They told me that they don't let people jump off the porch at 40. They said once you hit 18, Dice, we can't let you in. They said we never had nobody jump off the porch at age 40. That's just ridiculous. They said you must be trying to seek protection from Kendrick Lamar. I said, well, God damn it, somebody got to save me out here. I don't want to come out to LA for weed. I said, well, can some Crips just come meet me at the airport? They said no. I said, okay, well, that's fine.
Damn, that sucks. They say it's a young man's sport, man. What can you do?
Gang banging is a young man's game. You're right, absolutely correct.
It is. It's so very expected that I was going to be laughing during this whole conversation because, just from talking to you and meeting you in person, like I got to know you were a really funny person. But then to take it even a step further, last year, you start posting about a comedy album.
Right.
And I'm like, looking at the post, I'm like, is this serious? Like, is he really about to drop? And you really did. You really dropped a stand-up comedy album. And I heard it. And I was prepared to have to make up something. I was prepared to have to like,
yo, man, I heard your shit, man. Like, yo, keep up the good work. Stay inspired. You know what I'm saying?
The life path I've taken, I've heard a shit ton of comedy, right? And I remember telling you, man, like, these sophisticated bits. This ain't some shit where you just woke up one day and decided to do this. Like this like a real polish to what you were doing. And I'm really curious, what was your journey with comedy? When did you pick that up?
That was tricky too, but I'm a firm believer in like we're living, right? You can say, okay, I'm living. And another way to look at it is like, yo, I ain't got that much time left. So it's like, what I like to do is just get whatever it is I want to do. Like, if I want to do it, I just fucking do it. I don't care who likes it. I don't care how much it sells. I don't care if it sells. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't give a fuck about the Grammys. I don't give a fuck about the American Music Awards. I don't give a fuck about Billboard. Like, for all I care, like, they don't even exist. You know what I'm saying? They don't even exist until I'm nominated. I'll show up with a nice tuxedo on, and I'll be sitting in the front row, and I won't curse or say anything off-putting once I accept my award. If I am ever extended that invitation, fuck them, motherfucker. I see all, so my whole thing is, I'm like, look, I'm just going to create. I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want to do. And if people don't like it, then fine. But I used to work with this producer named Peanut, right? And Peanut used to always be like, yo, man, you need to put your personality in your music. And I'd be like, put my personality in my music? I'm like, I am putting my personality in my music. I'm a motherfucking gangster, nigga. You know what I'm saying? I'm a motherfucking gangster. And he was like, he's like, I don't know if you're the hardest gangster I know, Dice. He's like, I still know. But I used to believe this in my mind. Like I used to actually think I was like a fucking gangster. Like I thought I was prison ready at one point in my life. I'm like, yo, I'm ready. I'm ready. Like, you know, but out of my mind, totally out of my mind, right? So he'd be like, yo, man, you need to make your songs more funny. He said, put your personality in your music. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck this nut ass nigga talking about. Anyway, you know what I'm saying? Moving on. And then one day I was in a bar, and it wasn't that many people in the bar. It was like the bartender, like whoever I was talking to next to me, and then like a couple women in the back of me that was like sitting down. And I'm in a bar. I'm actually in LA. I'm at what's that garlic place? Stinking Rose.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Stinking Rose, exactly.
I'm in the Stinking Rose, right? And are they still open? Did they get COVID?
Yeah, I actually have no idea what their status is now, but it's been open. It was open for a long time.
But this is old school LA, Mike. You know what I mean? This is old school LA. You know what I mean, Mike?
Yeah.
When you gotta talk in this voice. Yeah, that part of town, the Stinking Rose. Oh, great spot. Anyway, I'm in this bar and I'm talking. I don't even know what I'm talking about, but I look and everybody in the bar was listening to what I was saying, like my conversation. And even the bartender was like mid-shake. And he was like, and I was like, wait, are these motherfuckers listening to me? I'm like, holy shit.
Do you remember what story you was telling or what you were talking about at the time?
I don't know what the fuck I was talking about, but all I know is they were all just waiting for me to finish whatever the hell I was saying. And I was like, yo, I said, these motherfuckers actually care what I'm talking about. So I started just talking a little bit on stage because like then we had the nouveau riche. So I went from, you know, the whole, you know, rap shit to kind of doing like the independent rock shit with Nicki. Now I got another band. I'm the oldest person in the group. You know what I'm saying? Everybody in the group is like 10 years old. I'm like fucking 30. You know what I'm saying? And it is wild because I would do little shit in between. And they'd be like, yo, man, get back to the music. Like, you're not here for a stand-up show. But I would just kind of get into that realm, and then I was hosting. So I was hosting mad events. Like, I did Old School New York. I did Jam House. I used to do, like, 5, like, weekly residencies, like artists in residencies. I'm doing, like, 5 of them shits in 1 week. So I'm, like, Philly one day, Baltimore another day, New York. There's all these little clubs, but at the end of the week, I'm making a pretty hefty, some coin. You know what I'm saying? But it's all these just like little spots, just like 100 people, you know what I'm saying? Like 100 people, you know what I mean? And the shit was so crazy. I would do most of the hosting and I would just rap a little bit. So I think that's kind of where like I started honing in my skills a little bit. But I always loved comedy. I don't really consider myself a comedian, but
Me neither, G.
yeah, I just tried it. It's like, yo, I'm a painter, really. And today, comedy was my canvas. Is how I look at it.
That's what's up. Yeah, cause I always resist that term too, cause I know I do some stuff that's funny, but I also like I'm such a person that I'm a respecter of craft. That like I know what it's like when you do that for a living and the kind of hell you got to go through to really get good. So I would never take that title if I haven't really like earned it. You know what I'm saying? But I really was impressed by your stand-up album. And what was the reaction like to people when they heard it?
I mean, some people really like it. Like my friends that are comedians, though, like real comedians, they haven't returned any of my phone calls. You know what I'm saying? But
That's messed up, man.
nah, people really like it. And then one of my homies, like, I got this homie, man. I swear to God, I don't even think we really friends. You know what I'm saying? To be honest with you, like, but like, I thought we was friends. But in any case, I sent him the comedy album. He was like, "Yo, man," he said, "I listened to your comedy album. Said it's pretty good." He said, "What you gonna do when people like this shit more than your music?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "What, you don't like my music?" He's like, nah. He said, "Yo, Clones was my shit." I'm like, "Clones?" I'm like, "Yeah, you know how many albums I put out since Clones?" He's like, "I'm just saying, man, like, this comedy shit kind of funny, man." Like, he's like, "You gonna feel any kind of way? You gonna feel any kind of way about that when that happened?" Like, I feel like he's always trying to give me like bad news or something. He's like that friend. You know what I mean? Like, and you know what else he does? I'm like, I'll be clear with him. He always tells me how much money he's got. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's like, I just made a few $100,000, da da da. I'm like, oh, okay, that's great. but I have more money than him. Like he's bragging. I don't know if he knows that or not. You know what I'm saying?
He must not. He must be waiting on you to tell him your side so he can square the circle.
I think he wants me to do that. I just never do. I'm like, oh, that's beautiful, man. I'm keep up the good work. You know, maybe one day you'll get to my level. I should say that one day. Maybe one day.
You should one
No,
day.
I'm not gonna say it. I'm actually not speaking. I'm not speaking to him any longer. Actually.
Oh, well, he makes you feel bad. So you shouldn't speak to people who make you feel bad.
Well, he doesn't make me feel bad. I just didn't understand where it was coming from. So somebody was like, oh, he's insecure. And I was like, well, that makes sense. I don't know why, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, yeah, he has to, you make him feel bad. They say I make him feel bad. So now he's got to tell me that he's got a lot of money or something. And I was just like,
oh, man. But it's the same guy that told you, he's trying to ask you what you're going to feel like if people like comedy more than your music, right? That sounds like a question from somebody trying to make you feel bad.
well, I mean, I don't know. To me, it just seemed like I thought he liked the comedy album. I took it as a compliment. I was like, well, maybe he likes the comedy. You know, I try to look in the positive of everybody, Mike. Even assholes, even my asshole friends.
I hear you. Sometimes you got to stop listening early when people talk.
I try to look at the bright side, even for them.
One thing I'm curious of as we wrap up, man, for somebody who's been rhyming as long as you, and you started rhyming at 8, 9 years old, what is your relationship, if you have one overall, to like rap nowadays? Like, do you check stuff out? Are you a person who just listens to what you enjoyed from whenever era that was, or how do you go about it?
Oh, Mike, I listen to everything. That's how I came across you, bro.
Word.
Yeah, it's like I didn't come across like you. Like nobody like put me on to you. Like, yo, Dice, check out Open My Eagle. And I keep my ear to the gristle. And I heard some shit from you. I was like, yo, what the fuck? I'm like, who is this nigga? I heard like some shit from you. Like in like the same week, I heard some shit from like this guy Mick Jenkins, and I already liked him. I liked him because of his last name. So you know what I mean?
Ah, right. Jenkins Clan.
Yeah, it's me, it's him, it's Young Jeezy. I think it'll be an interesting record. I want to hear Mick Jenkins and Young Jeezy. I want to hear Jenkins on Jenkins, the Jenkins boys.
So yeah, if you listen to a lot of stuff, if you keep your ear to the ground, does that mean you end up hearing a lot of stuff you don't like? Or does it, or do you find a way to kind of appreciate it all?
Well, I mean, if some shit is just whack. Some shit is just whack. And if some shit is just not your cup of tea, I think people should be able to say that. But like to me, like I really like NBA Youngboy. You know what I mean? Like I like him. I don't like his politics, but I like his songs. You know what I mean? Because if it comes down to him or Jay Prince, I'm picking Jay Prince. You know what I'm saying? Every day of the week. Shout out Jay Prince. Anything I can do for you in Philadelphia, you let me know, sir, and it will be done. You
Smart man.
But I do like NBA Youngboy's songs. I think he's talented. I actually like Kodak Black, some of his stuff. I'm feeling ESTG, that song he has with Yo Gotti, where he's like, I'm standing over your girl, letting it dangle, doing a Cabbage Patch. I mean, to me, that was funny when he said that. And I like that. I like 42 Doug. I like some of the stuff he's spitting. I like the Migos' new song, Straightening. I like Meek Mill. You know what I mean? I'm saying everybody that I think is gangster, so I can say protected. I'm like, I like Yo Gotti. I like, all the gangsters. I love them. You know what I mean? They're great guys. They seem like they're really great guys.
That's funny.
Now, you know who I really like? I like Drake. I actually like Drake.
Drake is very talented, man.
Oh, I love Kanye West, too. Kanye West is my favorite. I'll tell you that.
Now, Kanye, I got mixed feelings about, but that's because ultimately the politics kind of soured me on him as a person. Now I feel like I can't trust him. And if I can't trust him, I don't want to hear what he got to say because I feel like he's trying to poison my mind. It's just one of them things where like him and his antics have kind of turned me off to the music.
I don't even think Kanye is a musical event. I think he's just an event.
He is.
And there's music that's just happening around this thing that's going on.
The storm of a person, exactly.
But you got to think about it. I mean, to be the richest black man that's ever walked American soil. Heavy.
That's incredible.
That's heavy.
That's incredible. And if you think about it, his life as an individual human being was heavy even before that, all that money.
It was super heavy because he's the most influential.
Yeah. So you can only imagine the new pressure. Yeah.
And some people say, oh, Jay-Z. Jay-Z had it. Then Kanye took it and ran with it.
Because Jay-Z's influence was music it was rap persona, and it was like a little bit of like how you dress, but only for like a real limited time. You know what I'm saying? Where Kanye is all of that, plus it's the business of all of that. You know what I'm saying? And then it's taking the fashion forward, and it's taking the stage show forward, and it's taking the music video forward. It's like progression on every level. And it's an incredible amount of pressure to always have to top that every time.
Well, I mean, I think that goes into a lot of times with people like us, and I say us, like people like you, people like me, people like Kanye, that when you are this intelligent African American who just woke up and done something that you felt like doing, and then somebody says, yo, that's brilliant, or yo, that moves you from this category of a person to this category of a person, or the status changes, and it's not based off of you seeking status. It's not based off of you seeking anything, but just waking up doing something that you felt like doing. And then to have the intelligence aspect of it is almost puts you in another loop, because people feel as though they're comfortable talking to you a certain way, or they're comfortable with sharing certain things to you that they ordinarily wouldn't share with the average black man, or you're allowed privilege. I mean, that the average black man would like, these motherfuckers, like, I'm CEO of a theater, of a nonprofit. Like, come on now, it doesn't even make any sense. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But the only reason is because of what I have done with my young life. And I chose to make records. And because I made a record that people like, now that gives me influence over other people. It gives people a certain sense of credibility in a field I have no knowledge of. But I've killed it. Because that was the trick. It was like, yo, most CEOs, when they come and take over another company, they're usually coming from a whole different aspect or a whole different product. Like, they take a cereal guy and make him CEO, president of a university, and vice versa, because they don't like the CEOs that have experience in the fields. They like to have new, fresh blood. And that's what I did. And I was actually able to save Freedom Theater. You know what I'm saying? Well, not single-handedly. I had some help.
Well, the next thing we need you to save is the industry of podcasting. We need you to save that next. So what's your plan?
Nah, man, I'm with you, bro. It's like I'm just following your lead on that one. I'm like, hey, listen, but people, somebody told me that, they said, yo, man, your podcast is giving me life. And I said, well, I think that's positivity. It's like if they say, hey, your podcast is giving me death. I think that'd have been fucked up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a new goal right there. I need to find somebody to do a podcast that's going to give people death. Like, what is that going to be like? But I mean, I'm loving it so far. I think, there's a thing happening in the culture right now where, like, there's a real value being put back on truth telling. And I think that what you and Truck are doing is going to fit right into that. Do y'all have any like guiding principles to it, or like what are y'all thoughts going into each episode in terms of like what y'all are going to tackle?
I mean, our main thing is staying black and dying. You know what I'm saying? So, because we know we got to cover that.
That's what's up. That's the best podcast tagline ever. Our main thing is staying black and dying.
Look, because we're going to stay true to that shit. You know what I'm saying? Nah, but I mean, the real of it is we like to talk about what's going on in society as a whole. And that's a wide range from music to politics to whatever. Like, whatever's going on, we just like to just offer our opinion. And I think me and Truck have two totally unique views on the world, but at the same time, we're still connected by some kind of common ground of stuff that we actually believe in together. Me and Truck are two totally different people. Like, my ideal outfit is a pair of khakis, you know what I'm saying, and a button-up and a blue blazer. If I put that on Truck, that would almost be like torturing him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, 24 hours of Truck wearing khakis, I would have to check his pulse to see if he was still alive. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but I think that's where we come. And Truck is so smart. His perspective on the world and just life in general, he sometimes he gives me a different perspective, and I think that's the uniqueness of it. Like, I get to just come with my feeling. Okay, this happened, and boom, I just blurt out how I'm feeling. And the Truck's like, well, you know what? I feel you, but maybe da-da-da-da. It's a good match. You know what I mean?
I feel like it is too, man, and I'm looking forward to hearing a bunch more. That's the Raw Report here on Stony Island Audio Network, man.
We're happy to be here.
Yeah, happy to have you. I feel very fortunate to have y'all. And man, so I'm gonna have to get you on here again at some point, man, because I feel like me and you could talk for hours too. But I just definitely wanted to talk for a little bit, explore your history, because I've been a fan for so long. And thank you for being here and opening your mind. And yeah, dude, appreciate you and look forward to hearing more of everything you do, comedy, music, podcasting, astrophysics, whatever you decide to get into.